Tech Talk UK. Pro Beez, remember, subscribe. And I'm delighted to be joined once again by Sky Sports' Johnny Nelson. Drum roll.
Our dog just gone mad there. You know, it's nice to be back in the mix again. We had a show last week, which was nice. It was nice just getting that feel again. I know there was no crowd there, but it was just good. I've got to listen. First thing I've got to do is commend the British Boxer Board and Control and Matchroom for making sure that health and safety was paramount. And this ain't no corporate line, man, because I know for a fact that when I got there, you couldn't get it so strict, no, so tight, so spot on. And even Sky, before we even got to that point, Sky made sure we were all spot on safe. And so, yeah, you know, you think just, oh man, it's a bit over the top, but everybody did a grand job in making sure everybody was as safe as possible. Because it was a big deal for Sky as a company, for Matchroom as a company. The Boxing Board of Control knew the eyes were on the prize, and they did a cracking job as well. If you'd have seen what the cameras couldn't see, it was laughable at times because they had people walking out like Ghostbusters, mask on, gloves on, moving up, spraying up, you sit down, you stand up, you know, all of that. They were on it properly. So I thought, you've got to give it to them. And then the fights themselves, they were on fire. I've got to give it to Eggington and Cheeseman because if a crowd was there, that would have made the fight even 10 times better than it was because that was a proper to and fro. And these guys, like, they're young. Cheeseman's like 25. You know, I'm thinking, boy, that's some tough warrior being in there. But he's a kid that wears his heart on his sleeve. He loves his sport. He loves his game. But it was a cracking fight all around.
Definitely. We'll get into that, but I've got to definitely big up your online fitness program that you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, you know what? Get involved. I've had to. I always get my suits made to measure, shirts made to measure. I'm like, so, you know, I got to a stage where I was having a bit of a back problem. And then I'm thinking, I put a bit of timber on, you know, like we do. But then I was back on it again, got into the creating a fitness program. And there's a lot of guys that are my age and around there, and girls, that they just think they can't do it. You can't train like you do when you're 22, but you got to compensate, make sure you keep yourself fit, keep yourself in condition. This fitness program encourages you, shows you how it can be done without having to train mad. I was the worst kind of trainer. I trained to failure, but I can't do that anymore because I damaged myself. So now I've like reshaped, shoulders are on, thighs are on. I'm like, but I like it, and it's not chunky. It's fitness, proper fitness where I feel healthy again. And it's just, listen, just check it out. If you're not into it, just check it out. Check it out. You think, oh, I might have a quite that. You might teach some ideas, but check it out.
All right. So, Johnny, look, we mentioned Ted Cheeseman. We mentioned Sam Eggington. I mean, we have to shout out the matchmakers because boxing had to come back in a strong way, and there were so many plaudits for these two young men who have that come forward start anyway. So it really gelled really well, and we've got to really give them big props.
Big props. I think it was timing is everything. I think it was Ted Cheeseman. We did our debate show a few weeks before, and Ted was on the show. And you know me, I say how it is. And I actually tipped Eggington to win that fight, only because Cheeseman I found was too easy to talk into a wall. Cheeseman was on it. I said, yo, you're a good boxer. You're actually a better boxer than I gave you credit for. If you can box, you win. But I don't know if that's in your temperament. He boxed, he fought, he boxed, he boxed, he fought, he boxed. I think that's the only way he could have won that fight. But he is, actually, honestly, you check out Cheeseman when he boxed Fitzgerald, the boxing ability he showed up for, where's that come from? But some man, they find it easier to get involved in the tear-up. You don't have to think as much. But he's actually got a good boxing brain. But that night, Eggington, because I thought if he didn't get Eggington right, Eggington will do him. So I tipped Eggington to pull it off because Eggington's a tough cookie. And timing is everything. He got him at the right time, right spot. But it was a good fight. I think he won. I think I had him by at least 2 rounds, at least. But it was a good fight.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember that last round. Eggington wanted to make sure that, you know, he potentially got a decision, and he gave Cheeseman a couple hard shots, and fair to Cheeseman, he stood on his feet. I mean, he passed the chin check, definitely.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. With Cheeseman, I think at this level, you'll get some amazing fights. I think sometimes he's probably too much emotionally invested in fights where he'll have to answer a tough lick with another tough lick instead of thinking, oh, I'll put it in the pocket, then I'll box you in a minute and then take it out on you then. So I think as the levels go up and he comes across some cool operators, that's when he'll find one to be solid in the European title fight. And so he's only 25, so you don't know. He's had some hard rounds, so you don't know what is there, what's left, what isn't left. But at domestic level, you know, you've got to put him in that mix.
You know, we've got some exciting super welterweights. You know, Scott Fitzgerald, Cheeseman, Anthony Fowler. I've just got off the Zoom with Anthony Fowler as well, and that fight that he had with Fitzgerald as well, Anthony Fowler, was some fight.
Well, Fitzgerald, he does like a Tyson Fury. So Tyson Fury, like the fool to catch the wise. So then man don't respect him. He gets in, he just bamboozles him, totally outboxes him. They've all done it and made the mistake. Scott Fitzgerald's the same one. His shout goes on like he's all crazy, like, but he's not stupid. He's one of the boys that finds calm throughout chaos. So Fowler didn't respect him. Didn't respect him enough. Cheeseman didn't respect him enough. And he's come through. And so therefore, I just think, you know what, Fitzgerald, you've got to give the boy credit. He plays his role and plays it well.
Talk to me about, obviously we've seen both major promoters launch boxing shows, return back to boxing. We had Frank Warren and we had Eddie Hearn. How are these two promoters compared with their return back to boxing?
Well, listen, I used to be promoted by Frank Warren, which we all know. I used to be promoted by Barry Hearn. So you think Eddie's on it. Barry Hearn was a badass. Barry Hearn, he was on it. And you've got to commend both the history of both promoters, how they managed to put the shows on and get in the right place, right time. I had great times with Frank Warren. I had great time with Barry Hearn as well. And so you've got to think both of them, they know their craft. They know what they do. I think Eddie Hearn has the edge because he's got his finger on the pulse with the youngsters and what's needed, what isn't needed. He's got that braggadociousness, that rankness, as I should say. He's got that thing about him where he'll create a few arguments with other promoters, and he knows how to do it with a smile on his face. I rate Eddie. I've got to rate him. He's actually wasted being rich because he'd be a great presenter. He'd be a great salesman. I've got to rate him, and of course I rate Frank Warren, but Eddie Hearn. I actually thought to myself, I don't know why I was thinking this morning. I said, Eddie Hearn. I've seen some hustlers. He's the best hustler I've seen. You can put him in any situation.
I mean that line before fight camp actually started, when he was promoting the shows, and it's like, egg and cheese. It's got to be an omelette.
But that's what I'm saying. Eddie Hearn, I'm telling you now, he's got to go down as the best hustler going. And out of all the promoters, I've got to rate him. And it's not being a fanboy because Frank Warren, maybe some dough, but Eddie Hearn is a cut above the rest. Eddie Hearn is bang on it. You look at the show Saturday night, there was no crowd there, and there's nothing more this guy could do. Again, he's putting the shows on now. The shows are coming on now, and that was the first one when we're back in the mix again. You know, regardless if you like him or not, he creates a conversation. He creates the drama, and even if he's hustling you, and when I'm talking hustle, and what I'm saying is he's a great salesman, and he knows facts, figures. He's very involved with the fighters as well. You know, so and Frank, no knocking Frank, but Frank was just a bit not as familiar with the fighters where Eddie is, like he's one of the boys, but he's very business as well. So, and you've got to think right now, I've never seen so many millionaire boxers around. You know, and that to me says it all. I love it when we see fighters are making good dough and getting great opportunities, and you've got to give it to Eddie. He's doing a great job.
I want to ask you about the Ring Magazine heavyweight rankings last week that placed Tyson Fury #1, Anthony Joshua #2, Dillian Whyte #3. Now, what do you think Anthony Joshua will make of those rankings?
Right, as an ex-fighter, to me, it doesn't matter what the ratings say. So as far as Anthony Joshua is concerned, you've given him fuel for his fire. You can understand why the Ring Magazine has said that, because they see Tyson Fury. He hasn't lost. He beat one of, if not the biggest puncher in the heavyweight scene, and beat him with ease. Anthony Joshua has, and Anthony and Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua have been in a situation where Tyson Fury has come out and said, "This is what I'm capable of doing," and so it's questionable. It's about taste. I actually like the fact that they put Dillian Whyte above Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
Which is fair dues, because Dillian Whyte, he's waited over 1,000 days for his shot. Now, this is my crystal ball theory, and I might get shut down for this. My crystal ball theory is Tyson Fury will give up his title, and Dillian Whyte will box for the vacant title.
Okay, so Tyson Fury will be elevated. He'll be elevated to franchise.
Yeah, whatever. But I could see him giving up talent, and Dillian Whyte boxes for it against somebody else. That's what I can see happening. Because it's something you probably wouldn't have said a few years ago, and Tyson Fury would never even considered. But I think he's a businessman now as well as a boxer, and he's thinking, well, this makes more business. I'll swallow that. No way.
Because in some ways, I think this whole COVID-19 period has said to us, look, we need to make these big fights quite quickly. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed.
Yeah.
So, the boxing public are going to want, the best to fight the best. And some will consider that at heavyweight, Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury.
Yeah. And that's the situation. And the thing is, how long's too long? There's a couple of amazing fights that can be had there. And so they've got to do the right thing. They've got to say, let's do this. I want to see the fight. I think these guys are at that spot. And I know the guys want to fight. Anthony Joshua wants it. I know Tyson Fury wants it. So it's a case of getting it on ASAP. I personally think, and I know there's plans for them to box before Christmas, I personally think I can't see them boxing before Christmas in regards to how this is going, because they pull too much of a big gate to let a gate like that slip away and disappear. So depending on what the government or the government all over the world say about crowds, because this isn't a crowd where you can get a little crowd in, we're just going to do a little test. This is a big arena crowd. It's a 90,000 crowd, when these guys fight. And so it's been a hard year for, I know, saying hard year for millionaires. It's been a hard year for a lot of fighters because they can't fight. It's not about the dough. It's also been it's a hard year for fighters that live off boxing, because, again, how they're going to manage what they're going to do.
Definitely. What did you make of their meeting out in Marbella a few weeks ago? Coincidence?
Yeah, coincidence. Listen, both fighters are, they're letting them enjoy the break, enjoy the time down where they have no pressure. But both fighters have got, are still ticking over and doing what they've got to do. And there's a respect there. There is respect there, and I get that. And unfortunately, we the fans, we will take it more personal than they will. Remember when Ronaldo had, was it David Beckham or Rooney sent off in a World Cup game?
It was Beckham.
Beckham sent off, played the game, and people went mad. They went mad at Ronaldo, But these boys are drinking in the bar afterwards, like they're just cool this bar. So it's the fans that get more emotionally invested than the players do. And it's the same with boxing. Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, I'm sure they've spoken to each other many times privately, and they'll do what they've got to do to sell a fight. But when it comes down to being professional and get on with their job, boom, they're on it. So don't be fooled to think these guys detest each other. They are not Mike Tyson's. They're not Joe Frazier's. You know, they're not them kind of man where they just, if they see him in the street doing it, they have a tear up. These guys are professional, but when the fight comes, they'll get the fight done.
Yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to ask you about Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. Announced a few weeks ago. Where do you fit in the mix?
I don't fit in no mix. I don't fit in no mix. And I saw an interview with Tyson. He said, "Look, it's an exhibition. I'm doing 8 rounds." Now, in all seriousness, Mike Tyson will still be able to punch like a mule kicks. But I know I'm that age that you can't box at a certain higher than a certain pace when you get to a certain age. So the clips you've seen where it's bap, 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 on the pads, you think, wow, man's still got it. Yeah, he has. But then when he's got to use his feet and chase a man down and cut him off and use that pace and pressure, unfortunately, Father Time no longer graces you with that after a certain age. But Mike Tyson, you just stand in front of him, he's going to cave you a no rib cage. Roy Jones has got the speed. He'll have the movement. If he gets hit, it's like lights out. And it's an exhibition. I just can't see Mike Tyson tipping and tapping. He's not that kind of guy, and that's part of his attraction. But it's intriguing. And so if it's got people talking, and they're on about setting an elite squad, an elite league, so there's obviously a few fights and raising money for a charity, good on them. You know, if they're able to put bums on seats and get people interested, good on them. I do it. I do it. You know, that's just how it is. But unfortunately, there's not the same kind of demand for me as there is for those boys. So I understand where you're at. You know, when you're a sportsman, when you get to a certain age and you can't play like you used to do, you think, why don't you set a league for people of my age? They've set a league for people of an older age. So good on them.
Some would argue, why can't these guys just, go to the pub and play a game of darts?
You darts in it's pumping someone in the face, so that's how it is.
Yeah. Thanks for your time.
Now, will you be any shows coming up?
I'm not entirely sure yet. I'm entirely sure yet. So if I am, hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up. I'm hoping for the end of the month.
22nd. Yeah.
I'm hoping for that.
I gather. Listen to this one. I'm hearing Povetkin's here from Friday.
Oh wow! Okay.
That's 2 weeks out. From Friday. I've been in the hotel. Listen to me. You walk in. I got out of the car. I had a whole heap of stuff. I walked to the hotel. Got to the front door of the hotel. I didn't have enough hands to carry all the stuff, so I had to go back. Security said, once you come in, you're staying in. You can't go out again. And what? I got my stuff, so I had to balance all my stuff, get in, and you're in your hotel room. You ain't coming out your room. You want room service, they drop it on the doorstep. You can't come out your room.
Wow.
Now, 2 people that were in the bubble, it was a trainer and fighter. They didn't understand the seriousness of it. And they actually were playing some football game in the room. I can understand the thing, all of them. We've been training together all this time. But it was that strict. They said, no, out.
Wow.
You're putting jeopardy. Out. So Povetkin's coming over Friday, so I'm hearing, for 2 weeks. And I tell you, when I was there last week, it was like being back in training camp again, where you're stuck in your room thinking, boy, what am I going to do? I'm bored, man. It's hard. So it must be very hard for all the fighters being under the same roof and stuck there doing nothing. All you can think about is fighting. But I am looking forward to this week. Terry Harper and Natasha Jonas. It's going to be a wicked fight. I'm looking forward to that. So me and Matt, we're doing the debate show on Sky. And Matt's gone for Terry Harper. I've gone for Natasha. So I like that. There's a bit of compo there. So we'll see.
Terry Harper's got mad skills.
She's got mad skills. She's fast. She's got mad skills. And it's about tactics as well. And so we've got to see how this unfolds, see what happens. And I understand how she put it off. But I'm going to go for Natasha. I think Natasha might be able to wind it around. And the things I'm hearing behind closed doors, I'm hearing if she felt like she spars, she pulls it off. But she's up against pace of youth. She's now a mummy now. She's got the responsibility of an adult. So they make a difference to your outset, your desire to want your fire in the belly.
And lastly, I think someone posed a question to Eddie Hearn that what happens if someone tests positive? He says, well, no fight. but surely that would impact the card.
Yeah, that's life. We've got no choice. That's life.
Would it?
So
Do you think it'd be probably a wise move to have replacements lined up just in case? I don't know, as part of the bubble.
Yeah, but I suppose they have. But remember, these replacements have got to be in quarantine. So you might be fighting, but you've got to lock yourself away for 2 weeks because you might be fighting. Would you do it? If I said to you, you might be fighting the week after next, but lock yourself away. It's just a might. You know, so it's just how it is. But you've got to give it them. They're all of them. They are doing our sport so proud from top to bottom. It's our sport. I'll keep saying our sport's a leveler. No matter how rich you are, poor you are, black you are, how white you are, it's a proper leveler. So that's why I think it's one of the best sports in the world. Brendan always said, boxing at its worst is a dirty, rotten, prostituting game. And at its best, it's the sweetest sport you can ever get involved in. And fortunately enough, that's been my living. That's what I've done.
What do you make of PBC's proposed return in November? Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia. Quite tasty. Quite tasty.
Yeah, of course it's tasty. Of course it's tasty. Go on, Al Heyman. It's like, yeah, all right, let me show you boys how to do it. So, again, you know, it's giving the fans what they want. Everyone's been itching. We're itching to get involved back in the mix again. So, Spence against Garcia. It's like, Garcia, it's a good fight. It's a good fight all the way through. And, again, we'll see what's happening. But I'm excited. I am excited all the way through.
Yeah, I suppose we'll see, you know, if that accident has affected Errol Spence Jr. And he's been out of the ring for quite a while now. It's just under a year.
That's what I'm saying. So we all worry about fights that have been out of the ring for a while, but we forget these fighters have been in the gym for longer than a while. So they're just transferring that skill from the gym to somewhere public. So I'm quite sure Errol Spence, he's not the kind of guy that'll use that as an excuse. He's not. The only difference is he's not performed in public for a while. And so, listen, God was watching him. That's why he didn't get turned over. He was just discarded. So we'll just see how it turns out.
Cracking stuff. We'd like to thank the man himself, Mr. Johnny Nelson.
Bless. You take care.
Subscribe.
Anytime.
Thanks, Johnny.
Anytime, boys. Thank you.
Anytime.
Anytime.
Cheers, Johnny. Thank you.